Robert Duvall is gone, and with him, a piece of Hollywood history quietly fades into the past. At 95 years old, the legendary actor passed away peacefully at his home in Virginia, surrounded by family. There was no dramatic final chapter, no chaos, no spectacle, just a calm goodbye from a man who spent more than 7 decades commanding the screen without ever demanding the spotlight. But what happened after the news broke is what truly shook the industry. Because when icons like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro begin speaking with that kind of emotion, you realize this wasn't just another celebrity passing. This was deeply personal, and their reactions revealed exactly who Robert Duvall was behind the scenes. Duvall never chased fame the way others did. While many stars of his generation leaned into flashing cameras and constant attention, he stepped away from the noise. Instead of living inside the Hollywood bubble, he built his life in Virginia, far from the non-stop spotlight of Los Angeles. No endless red carpets, no desperate publicity runs. He believed the work should speak louder than the persona, and it did. His performances shaped some of the most important films ever made. As Tom Hagen in The Godfather, he delivered one of the most controlled and intelligent performances in cinema history. Calm, strategic, and always thinking 2 steps ahead, he shared scenes with Al Pacino and helped build a film that would define an era. Even though Robert De Niro joined the franchise in the sequel, Duvall's presence remained a steady anchor in that world. He never tried to dominate the screen. He didn't need to. His stillness carried power. There was, however, one chapter that fans still talk about. When The Godfather Part 3 was being developed, Duvall did not return. Reports at the time claimed there were disagreements over salary. Some industry insiders suggested he felt the compensation didn't reflect his value compared to co-stars. Others described it as a simple business decision. Duvall himself later downplayed the situation and avoided stirring controversy. Still, many viewers have speculated that the third film felt incomplete without Tom Hagen. Whether that's true or not, his absence was noticeable. Despite any past tensions, the tributes that followed his passing were filled with nothing but respect. Al Pacino described working with him as an honor. His words carried weight and sincerity. Robert De Niro expressed hope that he might live as long and as fully as Duvall had. Francis Ford Coppola praised his discipline and brilliance, acknowledging how essential he was to the storytelling magic of their generation. These were not generic statements. They were reflections from men who understood exactly what Duvall brought into a room. And that's what separated him from so many others. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, he was precise. He approached acting with patience and restraint. When he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for Tender Mercies, he showed audiences a completely different side of himself. Vulnerable, broken, quietly searching for redemption. The performance proved he didn't rely on intensity alone. He understood subtlety. Throughout decades in Hollywood, he avoided the kind of public chaos that consumed many actors of his era. There were no explosive scandals defining his legacy, no dramatic public unraveling. He chose privacy over publicity. While the industry shifted around him, becoming louder and more driven by headlines, he stayed consistent, focused on craft, focused on story. In the final months of his life, he shared video messages thanking fans for their support. Watching those now feels different. His voice was steady, reflective, grateful. There was no dramatic farewell speech, no attempt to frame his life as a grand narrative. Just appreciation. He seemed at peace. And that quiet gratitude now feels incredibly meaningful. Robert Duvall lived through the transformation of Hollywood. From the gritty, character-driven films of the 1970s to modern blockbuster franchises and streaming platforms, he witnessed it all. He adapted without losing his identity. He never became trapped in nostalgia, nor did he chase trends. He remained grounded in performance. In Apocalypse Now, as Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore, he delivered lines that became permanently etched into film history. In Lonesome Dove, he brought grit and heart. In To Kill a Mockingbird, even in an early role, he left a lasting impression. He didn't require endless screen time to make an impact. His presence alone carried weight. There has been some online discussion about how he managed to maintain such stability in an industry that often overwhelms even the strongest personalities. Some observers suggest that his decision to live away from Hollywood played a role. Others believe it was simply discipline and perspective. While those reflections remain speculation, what is clear is that he made intentional choices that protected both his career and his peace. His passing also marks something symbolic. With Robert Duvall gone, one of the last pillars of a transformative cinematic generation has stepped off the stage. This was an era built on depth and character study, on rehearsal rooms and patience. Fame was not measured in viral moments, but in performance. Duvall embodied that philosophy completely. When Pacino and De Niro speak about him, you can feel the shared history. They rose together, pushed boundaries together, defined a period of American cinema together. Now, one of them is no longer here, and that realization carries weight. For younger audiences discovering his work today, it may feel like exploring classic cinema, but for those who watched his career unfold in real time, his passing feels personal. It feels like losing a connection to a different kind of storytelling. Slower, deeper, more intentional. 7 decades of work, 1 Academy Award win, multiple nominations, countless iconic performances. Yet beyond the statistics, what remains strongest is respect. Hollywood is filled with stars, but only a few achieve universal admiration across generations. Robert Duvall did. He did not exit in controversy. He did not leave behind chaos. His life concluded the same way he lived it, calm, steady, dignified. And perhaps that is why this moment feels so heavy. It is not simply the loss of a talented actor. It is the quiet closing of an era. When someone like Robert Duvall leaves the stage, it forces Hollywood to reflect on how much has changed, and how rare that kind of presence truly was. An entire generation of cinema is slowly becoming memory, and with Robert Duvall's passing, that reality feels undeniable.
I wanted to say something very briefly about Robert Duvall. It's so hard to talk about in a memorializing way, or whatever word you want to use, in a tribute about someone with as vast a career as Duvall. But I've said very often that although handling words and handling dialogue and speaking speeches is a powerful part of acting, no doubt, depending on the writer, in film and theater. Duvall, of course, occupies an unusual place in my life because when he did To Kill a Mockingbird, he just destroyed you with his performance as Boo Radley, without a single word of dialogue, not one word. And he completely shatters you. And whenever I watch that movie, those scenes with Duvall are just so arresting to me. I read where Horton Foote had done a play with Duvall and recommended him to the To Kill a Mockingbird casting people. Of course, Apocalypse and Lonesome Dove and all these iconic things. He did The Godfather and Network and so forth. I mean, scores and scores of movies and TV shows that he was great in. I met him once at a celebrity tennis match, and he was irascible is the word I would use. He was very crusty, but he was a gentleman. And that laugh of his that Jimmy Caan used to do all the time. And but what a great actor. I mean, up there with the greats. You always hear De Niro and Brando and Pacino and Hoffman and Nicholson and Hackman and, great movie stars like Newman and Redford and Beatty and people like that. But the world has lost, he was an older gentleman, but the world has lost a great, great actor. He was a great actor, Duvall. And one of the greatest of all time. And the parts he played in films, he was unforgettable, is the word I would use. So my thoughts go out to his wife, his widow. He had no children, I read, but my thoughts go out to his friends who lost their friend. And rest in peace to the great, great, and irreplaceable Robert Duvall.
And the winner is...
Ha-ha! Oh, yeah! Robert Duvall! Tender Mercies! think this is a great.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited, very happy, very moved, very everything tonight to be up here, to be singled out from among all these very talented people. I sometimes come to the Academy Awards and watch them year after year, and I get caught up in the spectacle of it, in the event, in the very complex type of entertainment. And I guess I forget that what we're really here for is to single out who we think is the best for that given year. And if that's what I'm to be this year, then I appreciate it I accept it with an honor, and I'm very moved because of that. I think we set out to make a film, a very truthful film, a very good film. I think Bruce Beresford, Horton Foote, the Hobels, EMI should all be commended. Very wonderful job that they did in putting this film together. I think it's a valid film, valid enough that we have gotten very much applause of a certain kind from certain members of the country western community, such as my friend Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and this is certainly a very high level of criticism coming from those people. And if I didn't have that on one hand, I would feel that this, on the other hand, was not complete. But the combination of both tonight makes this a very complete and exciting evening for me tonight. And I want to thank the Academy very much for this award. I'm very happy. Thank you.